Hello and welcome to Newsmakers, a CHCH podcast where we go beyond the headlines with notable people in Hamilton, Halton, and Niagara. I'm your host, Louie Butko, and today I'm very pleased to be joined by General Manager of the 2023 Grey Cup Festival and Vice President of Stadium Events and Operations, Gerry Fonzo. Gerry is part of the team at Hamilton Sports Group who have been working very hard as they get set to throw the biggest party in Canada when they host the 110th Grey Cup. The Grey Cup Festival will feature more than 40 events that will show off the city and showcase the region from November 13th to the 19th, incorporating some iconic brands and events that help make Hamilton unique, including Supercrawl, the Around the Bay Race, the Hamilton Santa Claus Parade, the YWCA, and much more. And the festival making headlines across the country with this week with the announcement country superstar Carrie Underwood will be playing Friday night at the Built in the Hammer Festival. And Gerry, we're going to get right into that one. The number of people who have texted me, who have DM'd me, A, to ask for tickets to Carrie Underwood, but B, just to ask, how did you get Carrie Underwood? Take us a little bit behind the scenes as much as you can on how you land and act.
I guess this is one way to get everyone's attention.
Yeah, right?
Cup, right? Yeah, exactly. So just like you said, that between friends and neighbors, and everyone's kind of like, oh my God, you got Carrie Underwood, which is incredible. So no, that's been in the plans for many years now, going back to 2021 Grey Cup, and it's been a lot of months in the work lately for this year. So I think we're very happy, obviously, with landing Carrie Underwood, and you can't do that easily. But someone of that scale only can elevate your event, right? So that's what I think we're most happy about and looking forward to of what this does. And we have a lot in store still and a few more puzzle pieces to land. But I think over the next 2 to 3 weeks, I think we'll see a lot more announcements and things that are very exciting for Grey Cup week.
For people who just saw Carrie Underwood and started freaking out, Carrie Underwood Grey Cup, let's be clear, this isn't the halftime show.
Correct. This is not the halftime show. So Carrie Underwood is actually headlining our Grey Cup Music Festival. Okay. So we have our Grey Cup Festival, of course, which kind of includes all your traditional Grey Cup events. But in this case, we wanted to elevate that this year. So how do we elevate the Grey Cup differently? And in this case, Hamilton's a big music city as well. And for us, being able to bring in Carrie and headline this, and we're looking at bringing in concerts for, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and obviously Sunday being game day as well.
The Built in the Hammer concert series, I have to think that relationship with Supercrawl has been a big part in getting that off the ground. But you mentioned the Thursday night, you're trying to lock something in for Niagara Falls, which we're going to get to in just a second. Yep. Saturday, the Sunday block party just outside of Tim Hortons Field. Why was music such an important part? I mean, it's a football festival. Why was music such an important part to be brought?
To us, I think it's all about entertainment, right? And you want to have something for everybody. And I think this is one thing that does speak to everybody is music. And having different genres is going to be very important for us too, right? So I think all of that just creates excitement, word of mouth. People are talking about it. You don't have to be a football fan. If you love Carrie Underwood, you will now just organically immerse yourself into the Grey Cup and join us maybe that day earlier and come down to avoid traffic and join us at the street festival. Maybe check out the Santa Claus Parade and so on, right? So I think that's been the biggest principle for us this time.
We'll get more into the festival, but I remember being at Tim Hortons Field, and I got the date here, February 2019, when the 2021 Grey Cup was awarded to Hamilton. And of course, we all know what happened, but I mean, 2019 is when it was announced, which means the work to make that bid to the CFL went in well before that. The year before that. So, I mean, can you put it into perspective, the last 5 years of just how much work by yourself, by your team, has gone into what eventually will culminate in the biggest party in Canada come November?
No, it's great. And for us, you take a step back, and it always starts with your vision. And I think music, at the end of the day, it was always a big piece of it. And when you go through that, there's obviously ebbs and flows. And, there was times that we're working on it a lot more, and then it comes down a little bit, then goes back up, and you're bringing in staff. But I think all in all, it was just one of those ones where it was never forgotten about. You're always thinking about it, and certain staff are obviously a little bit more engaged than others. And I think now we're turning that corner where it's not just myself and maybe a team of 12 to 14 and a few heads of departments. Is we're getting very close to every single employee at the Hamilton Sports Group will be involved in the Grey Cup, and that'll be in a very short time.
So just a heads up to all my fellow coworkers at HSG. Of course, I was around. I've been around. Obviously, Hamilton was working at HSG just a few years ago. I know the energy, but can you feel it? I mean, there's got to be this weird mix of, it's stressful. It's stressful throwing a big party, but there is the excitement of getting to showcase not just that stadium, but the entire city. How do you control that as someone who's the general manager? I mean, I think of Coach O and Ed Hervey and Drew and Spencer. Like, I think of all those guys trying to herd cats, right, to build the team. You're the general manager of this Grey Cup team. How do you keep the energy up when you are planning this gigantic party?
No, it's great. And for us, it's for me, if it wasn't for the passion, I think that's what it is, right? It comes down to passion. You have to love what you do. And for myself and my team, that's an important piece, right? To be on our team as a manager, as a director, or anything like that for the Grey Cup, you have to have that passion. And for ourselves, we talk about it right now. We're working every day. There couldn't be enough hours in the day for us to get through to this. And but again, we're excited. I wake up every morning ready to go. What's the next challenge ahead of us? But I think that's a big part. You have to be passionate for this stuff, and I think we have the right individuals at the Hamilton Sports Group. Everyone's engaged, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be there, right?
And just like Coach O would say, it all starts at the top.
Yes, it does.
How influential is caretaker Bob? I mean, I know he's not there making every minute decision, but to have someone who showcases his passion for the city, who wears his heart on his sleeve, to have somebody like that to look to as the leader of this organization, how important is caretaker Bob in all this?
No, you say that. From an ownership perspective, they're very important. And we have, almost luncheon meetings with Bob lately, it feels like. And Bob wants the updates and how's it going. And he has his ideas and his visions, and they're all great. So, and including Scott as well. So everybody's, been working really hard on this project. But I think everyone just wants to be so successful and unique to Hamilton, right? Like you mentioned it earlier, but we want this to be the best Grey Cup, and we want it to be very memorable. And I think just by bringing in, Carrie Underwood, that's one piece of the puzzle, and there's still a few more pieces. And I think that's what's going to make everyone in 2 or 3 years from now still talking about this Hamilton Grey Cup.
Like the halftime show.
Exactly.
I've been put on the spot. Who's the halftime show?
Can't say it.
Can't
say it. We are close. We are very close.
Okay. All right.
Close.
I thought I'd catch you. I was going to do one of those rapid fires. Like, how many people on your team? When's the event? When's this? Who's the halftime show?
And slide that in.
Yeah. I thought I'd get you.
Not ready yet, but we will. Very soon. Very soon. You will be excited. I promise you that.
We all know what happened, 2019, 2020. But I think the one thing that doesn't get, and again, I was very close to the situation, so I saw firsthand, but the one thing I think people don't appreciate is that when the world was shut down and when the world was coming out of its shutdown, you at Tim Hortons Field were not just some of the biggest events, but some of the first events. What do we have here? We have the Winter Classic, or the Heritage Classic. Tim Hortons Heritage Classic. Huge game, Sabres, huge project, building a rink on the middle. Arkell's Rally, Canadian Men's National Team, the 2021 Grey Cup, the Canadian Premier League season. All those things coming out of COVID. What are some of the lessons that you and your team learned putting those on in a very challenging environment that you're going to apply to 2023 when things are not so challenging?
Yeah, no, it's great. Good question. And for us, it's been, I think, where we pride ourselves on, and, you kind of bring it back to the people we have, but the people we have, the effort they put into it, their passion, everybody cares. And I think that's what we've learned actually working with all these partners is we have, our individuals and our contacts from FIFA. We have our contacts from the NHL. Like, we still be in contact all the time. And a lot of times I hear from FIFA all the time how we're one of their favorite locations to go to because of the type of people we have here. And I think that's where bringing in those events, in some cases they're calling us saying, hey, we'd love to come there. How can we work something out? And I think for us, we love the challenge. At first you think, oh, wow, maybe another event, it's more time off. But no, that's not the case. We look at that as how can we bring in more? And for us, working with those types of partners, working with the NHL, there is so much knowledge that those groups come to the table with and experience that they can only educate us on those things. And I think not only good for myself, but for my team and for our staff to see that. So when we see their executives and we see their staff and the type of work they do behind the scenes, I think our staff, like, they look at it as like, oh, we're not in it alone. There's other people that do this. And when they show up with their staff, and they show up with an army of people, and we work together with them collaboratively, and it's an amazing, successful event. So I think every event we've had at Tim Hortons Field so far, I believe, has been very successful, and I think everyone's been great to work with.
I just think of that January to November stretch. I'm sure like for you it was a blur, but from the setup, from the trucks backing up to Tim Hortons Field to start building those ice, and I believe there was a Canadian Premier League, there was a Champions League game put in there as well. I mentioned the Forge, but that was just that. I mean, it was a blur for me. I can only imagine as the guy in charge of the stadium what it was like for you.
You know what? It was a lot, but again, you go back to the passion and things you love. Like, I am, I don't know, maybe fortunate or not fortunate, I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan too. So I think when I heard the news of that, it kind of puts a little bit more pep in your step about how much excited I was just to have, work on that event. And then soccer, big soccer fan as well, and music fan, and working with the Arkells have been great. So any event we've had come through, I think it brings a different level of excitement, right? Even Nitro Circus, when we bring in those events, again, it's another fan favorite. The staff love it. So I think it's exciting, right? We're not talking boring stuff, or as Bob would say, we're not selling keyboards, right? This is entertainment, and it's all, stuff that's fun for us and the family.
I think Bob might say typewriters. I think that's his go-to.
That's right.
Okay, so you've been with Hamilton Sports Group, before that Hamilton Tiger Cats. I mean, I'm going to put you on the spot here. 2004. That's almost 20 years that you have been involved. What are you most proud of when you look back on that time?
Oh, that's a tricky question. No, I'm proud of myself in terms of just sticking to it and always looking to grow.
You started in ticketing.
Correct. Yes.
And now you're like, when you take a step back and see, new hires, whose job it is to make calls, to cold call, how do you put it into perspective to that 21-year-old out of sport management? Like, hey, look at what I can do.
Yes.
It takes a lot of work, but how do you kind of put that all into perspective in your 20 years with them?
No, it's true. And it's for us, you said it, I've had the opportunity to, when I started, it was in ticket sales as a junior rep, and was able to kind of move up into that department, oversaw ticketing department. I was able to run over into the game day side of things, running production, and now having an opportunity to be the VP at Stadium Events and Operations. So I think for myself, it's been an amazing learning opportunity, and I think that's one of the things that I love about him working at the Hamilton Sports Group. It's that opportunity to grow, and if you want it, you'll have that opportunity for you, right? And I think that's where it's a lot of it. And even with the youngins, right, we talk about all the time that are just starting those jobs, is if you want to grow, just got to showcase it a little bit, and the opportunity will come.
People have talked about the renaissance of Hamilton the last few years. I know that, to showcase, we talked about that, to showcase Hamilton, to show off Hamilton. What does that renaissance mean to you?
Well, and that's why when you go back to this Grey Cup, it gets everyone's eyes thinking how great Hamilton is and how they're going to come down and visit now during Grey Cup. And, you go back and you talk about just mentioning Carrie Underwood. Well, all of a sudden you come home from work and now your neighbors are out there saying, so what's going on with Carrie Underwood? I'm like, when's the last time you asked me a question about Grey Cup? Right? But now you get that excitement in there again, right? So I think Hamilton in this case is, all the events that we've brought in and working closely with the city, our friends at tourism, we're trying to make Hamilton better, right? Put it more on the map, and I think creating all these exciting opportunities for people to travel into Hamilton, stay in Hamilton, I think are amazing.
Well, you go to, the Grey Cup Festival website, you go through the community partners, and I will, full disclosure, CHCH is a media partner of Grey Cup Festival, and we are proud to be so, and can't wait to see, how we cover the event. I know I'm looking forward to it. Somebody who took part a few years ago, last time the Grey Cup was here, but when you look at the partners, like the collaborative effort of getting this thing off the ground.
You're right.
Like, how important are those relationships, and how do you formulate those to get to the point we are now, where you don't burn bridges, there's a huge relationship aspect of getting something off the ground like this.
Well, and so for that question, you kind of go back to originally when you say we started this process back in 2018, 2019. So over the years with that vision, it's turned into, what are the great things we're doing in Hamilton right now? And how can we include that into the Grey Cup? And how can fans that travel into Hamilton for 3 or 4 days, how can we make sure they have that full Hamilton opportunity to, immerse yourself in Hamilton? And I think that's where, we've had relationship with Tim Podesick and his team down at Supercrawl. Anna Lewis with the Around the Bay race, our friends at the Santa Claus Parade. All of those ideas and that vision has been what's in the work for a long time. And you're right, it's not something that if you're awarded the Grey Cup and you have 6 months, you're not going down that path. We've had the time, and I think that's what's been great about it, is working with these partners. They do what they do best, and they do a great job of it. So how can we bring them into the team environment under that umbrella and work closely with them and put a little twist on it? So in this case, you talk about Supercrawl, taking over James Street and doing Supercrawl 2.0 basically in November. It's incredible.
Getting a PA day for both school boards. Yeah. I mean, how do you swing that, man? That was one of the one takeaways from the there was Art Gallery of Hamilton event a few months ago. I'm sure time is relative, just like to you.
Yeah.
A PA day. How do you swing that for all the kids in Hamilton?
Not easy, but you're right. That is another big one that we started that process maybe over a year and a half ago, talking with the school boards about the concept. And a lot of it was for, safety of the kids. We have streets closures going on Thursday and Friday, so that's a big piece of it. As you know, the Tim Hortons field is our district has 2 schools basically right on the same street. So those schools, the streets are closed right around them for a few days. But that was one image piece of it. But the bigger piece was, our James Street and our parade and everything, that all starts on Thursday. So it goes Thursday and Friday. So Thursday, we have a lot of kids going out of school as well for the race to the Cup, and that's happening with our friends down at the Around the Bay race. And on Friday with the PA Day, again, working close with the school board and providing something for families that here's something you can do, right? So we'll be working with the school board on making sure that's brought to all the students' attention on, hey, here's a few things you can do on that day.
Back to the festival, and we mentioned the Thursday night concert at OLG Stage that yet to be announced. The CFL Awards being held at OLG Stage later in the week. You've talked about making this the first ever regional Grey Cup. Why was it important to either have Niagara Falls reach out and be welcoming to them reaching out, or to reach out to them? I mean, to make this a regional event, why was that a highlight when here we are showcasing Hamilton?
Yes, no, and you're right. And we talk about it, but how do you make Grey Cup bigger, right? And by us being able to expand that footprint even more so and include more people into the Grey Cup, right? And I think working with Niagara, again, moving one of the 41 events down to Niagara, showcasing it there. The idea here was, how can we elevate this event? And Niagara Falls, they have the Avalon, which is an incredible facility if you haven't been, but they also have OLG Stage there, right there. And that's, you mentioned the concert there. I'm hoping that one's not the next domino, but maybe right after the halftime, but shortly thereafter. But
and the halftime show is who again?
Yeah,
sorry?
Yeah, that will be coming very soon.
Okay, I tried.
You tried, but we're very stoked to work with Niagara Falls on this project.
Yeah. When you look at the events, you look at the scale of the events. I mean, I'm sure you take a step back. I'm sure you got something in your office where they're listed, or you're looking check marks. Checks are being made. Yep. Question marks are follow up here. All these posted notes. What are you most excited about come that week? It being, it just happening? I mean, really, when you think about that week, it's a long ways. It's not that long away.
No, it's not long. We've talked about that 48 days until the Monday of Grey Cup week, right?
That's something. Yeah. I mean,
you know what? It's an interesting one, right? Like, I'm not excited about one particular thing. No. I'm excited to see my team that I'm working with really dive in on everything we're working on. And I think it's going to be a whole combination of every day there's a different event going on, everything from the Grey Cup arriving on Monday and working closely with our friends at the city as well as the CFL. But also as you go through each and every event that we showcase, I think because there's so many different events, again, for everyone, if you're local, if it's kids, if it's you love music, right? Like, I think seeing all that come together, I think what kind of warms my heart, you'd say, is like it's going to be an amazing Grey Cup. Like that week, if you've been a Grey Cup goer, and we have a lot of them that go every Grey Cup, they put it in their calendar, they're there every single time. I can only imagine that if we interviewed 10 of them after and say, hey, how does this rank in your top 10? I got to expect us to be number 1 or number 2 in most people's books.
And that's the thing. I mean, 2021, you were constrained in what you could do, right?
Yes.
I mean, that was a scaled down version from, the seating in the stadium, from the events you wanted to plan. Knowing the way 2021 went, I as somebody who took part in the events, I would say it was a great success. Awesome. But knowing, it was a great time. It was all week. It was a great time. Knowing that you pulled it off then, now you're factoring in factor of X number of times bigger.
Yes.
Do you feel the pressure?
I do feel the pressure.
You do.
And 21 it was fantastic. And for myself at the time in 21, I was overseeing the stadium project portion of it, which that's where most of it was. It wasn't much of a festival. It was a little bit scaled down, as you said. It was a few events, a few parties on Friday, Saturday night, but not too much that you could do. But in this case, it's a different type of pressure because, again, we're raising the bar, and that's how we look at it. Is we try to do everything at an excellent level and try to create new and unique ideas and do things differently. And I think that's what it's been. And sometimes it's challenging because you have to wait for one domino to land in order to work on the next one. But I think the team has been great, patient, control what you can control, and we'll get there.
When's the scaffolding coming in?
October the 16th, which I believe is the Monday.
See, I mean, look, I could have thrown anything. Who's the halftime show?
All
right.
That's good. Good try.
Thanks, man. Gerry, I know you are a very busy man, clearly. What do we say, 48 days until it all kicks off. So I appreciate you making the time coming up here and letting us know who the halftime show is. Very soon, though.
Yes, very soon.
Very soon. Gerry, thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
That's Gerry Fonzo. He is the general manager of Grey Cup Festivals in addition to his role at Hamilton Sports Group. I want to thank him for joining me. I want to thank you for joining me as well. Make sure to like and subscribe to CHCH Podcast so you never miss an episode of this show or any of the other shows we have for you. If you're watching this on YouTube, that QR code will bring you right to it, but you can follow us wherever you get your favorite podcasts or go to chch.com/podcasts. From all of us here at CHCH, my thanks to you for tuning in. I'm Louie Butko. Have a great day.